man.
Good day. Good day.
Oregon. Hey, Marcin.
Hello, hello. Hey, David.
Marcin, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. All right, let's start. What's the agenda for today, guys? So, Eduardo, or
Yeah. So the agenda here is one. Do you want a little background of myself, or
I've
has
seen the
Mark
last
already?
video. I think I see. But tell me briefly, like, how'd you get it? I didn't catch how you got into this in the first place, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I've owned a freeze drying business here in Idaho, in the
Yeah.
states, for 5 years, going on six now.
Okay.
I started with a home freeze dryer, and I actually ended up buying seven more, and so I
Oh,
had eight. Got really ahead of myself, and just kind of my friend and I were doing that, and we had a young family at the time,
yeah.
so kind of parted ways. And during that interim, I was like, I've gone through a lot of hoops and things, and learned a lot of stuff, and made mistakes, that I think I'm just going to put some of my knowledge out there on YouTube.
Hmm.
Decided to do that. Started my channel back in 2022, and now I've got about 41,000 subscribers, and I host a conference here in Boise. It's
Hmm.
launched it last year, and I had people from five different countries come.
Yeah.
And really, I'm just trying to. It's always been to try to educate and bring forth resources and connections, and the network better for a very niche industry like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm a YouTuber, but I'm also this like kind of ambassador for the industry. And so, um, what I'm what I'm doing now is I'm kind of trying to utilize more so my expertise and my network of. It might take a long time to understand who to contact in packaging with freeze dried products, some of the co-packers and toll freeze drying companies, also different manufacturers I meet with all the time who have these units. There's a lot of just different things to think about as you're looking at this process and this technology. And so the agenda for today is to Eduardo had asked me just about, with his farm and his access to the supply of all these citrus fruits, to look at the market size,
Hmm.
and just given some of my connections and just things that I would be looking for, I would like to kind of help partner with you guys to kind of figure out how big is this market size before you actually jump into a full operation, if that
Excellent.
was what you want.
Excellent. Just a one quick question though. Was there any particular experience in your freeze drying career that made you want to do the channel and the pub? Basically getting into the consulting and other sides of this, or you
Yeah,
just
well,
nothing
I've got a
particular?
well, not necessarily freeze dry. My background is in marketing and
Hmm.
advertising and sales. And I've worked from like small markets to all the way to like national manufacturing sales in actual agriculture. So I was doing national account sales
Hmm.
for agriculture equipment, with like John Deere and AGCO and all these
Hmm.
large brands. And what I really liked about that is like helping solve problems.
Yeah.
And so with freeze drying the YouTube channel, it's like helping solve a problem with education gaps using video.
Yeah.
And now with kind of consulting, it's more so, what type of things can I actually provide? And that's what I wanted to propose today. Was like,
Okay.
this is what I think I can provide you,
Hmm. Hmm.
that has kind of its limits. Like, and I can't I'm not skilled in like full market research and data analysis, but I am willing to go this far for you. And I feel like that type of end result will help you guys decide whether to move forward or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That
Awesome.
answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
What do you do for Eduardo? Like, how are you guys connected?
So, so I started the Future Builders Academy. It's basically how to raise the bar in one's enterprise using open source. So, you know about my stuff, the Global Village construction set and stuff like that. Okay. Well, I work on open source blueprints for civilization. I have a TED talk on this kind of stuff. So this is big picture stuff. We started a school where we're basically designing and building open source machines to do all kinds of productivity. So we built tractors, homes. We actually started building homes as a cross subsidy model. I'm helping Eduardo develop the farm where he's in a Future Builders Academy apprenticeship, basically mentoring him to increase his output with open source. So open source designs of machines and operations. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I was telling Eduardo, like, freeze drying is I mean, it's a huge energy consumption
Yeah.
type of process,
Right.
but but it can be reduced in a lot of different ways that if you have the capital investment, I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
can it can be much more profitable. It also can reduce the footprint environmentally too. So
Yeah, I mean, the game changer for us is, yeah, we can build and install energy systems. We've done that at a cost of 1 cent per kilowatt hour. So that's how we can immediately
yeah,
implement major savings. Yep.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are we recording this?
we can.
Yeah. Yeah, and do you mind if I record on my side? Because I
Oh
work
yeah,
completely openly. We publish everything.
yep, absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. All right.
Okay, so let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any fancy presentation or anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
just my thoughts that I kind of went through
Yeah.
based on our discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Can everybody see this? Do I
Yep.
need to zoom in?
Zoom in a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the objective here for me, one, I have this background and I I definitely have connections with not only freeze drying companies, but also these large co-packers in the US. This would be like a US market study. And the objective here, Eduardo, for you is like, do you go or is it a no-go decision on investing in freeze drying your citrus fruits? Whether that be into powders or the actual like snackable like fruit. And so this would be just at least giving a scope wise of, is there a market size that is actually buying these fruit powders for oranges and grapefruit, and what type of price? As we go down here, the key questions that I'll answer is, basically how many buyers are out there, and who's actually freeze drying fruit powders, and who are the companies that they're buying from. What are the price ranges that they're paying on those fruit powders, or even just straight up fruit, and what's the volume size that they're doing that at, and also, like, are they requiring any certifications that it's sourced from a specific type of food safety standard, as well as is there any type of like niche ingredients in high demand versus the competition. So if oranges and grapefruits are not necessarily being purchased right now, then that's advantageous for you. If it's very competitive, then that's what type of analysis I'll give you. This kind of looks like more of the scope of the work is me literally calling and identifying and tracking 20 to 30 different qualified buying companies that are purchasing freeze-dried fruit ingredient material, and then listing those out for you to say, these are manufacturers that are actually buying this in food processing, or these are beverage brands, or these are nutraceutical companies, or these are companies that are doing large-scale food R&D for different flavors. Because I think this will provide you a scope of like, here's who you're going to actually sell this to, and who you can contract with.
Correct, and a market price, which I can work backwards in order to see what this freeze-dried innovation with the energy can really achieve in a
Correct.
profit gap.
Correct. So it's like, and I was saying on the last call that we either are going to get the actual data of the pricing, and then we can work backwards to understand what it actually takes, for production based on energy that you guys are working on, as well as the sourcing and labor cost of actually freeze drying it yourself. So working backwards, if we actually know what buyers are actually buying the volume for, if we're not getting that type of data, then it's just going to be looking at more kind of like the wholesale cost of, what's the rate of, 1,000 pounds of freeze dried fruit right now. That's what I would list out for you.
I get it from a market perspective. The step two we talked last call is about the product development. So we know that we're working on a freeze dryer mechanical design in order to make it cheaper. But what I don't know yet is what kind of product is going to make the most sense. If it's going to be a powders, if it's going to be a liquid, that part. Can you help me too? Can you help us on product development?
That if you want that to be this as a part of this scope, we can note that. What Let me go through this first initial scope, and why don't we just like note that right now, if you don't mind. If you don't mind putting that down, and then we'll come back to that, because I want to make sure that like this initial scope is definitely what you want, and then if we want to add on to that, that'll be like more. It's just another piece of this, right? So I'm not saying no to it, but just for this initial part.
Yes. Okay.
So one, I'm going to work on mapping out the potential buyer list. So I'm going to make sure that I present to you the segments within the buyer companies. Second would be, what did I actually discover in these conversations? Great part about transcribing all this stuff is I can summarize these conversations over these phone calls and actually identify and tell you, okay, what are they currently sourcing? Where are they getting it from? If it's international or it's from the US. Also, what's the pricing? What's their minimum order quantities? How much volume are they asking for? What type of trackability and quality and food standard requirements? And then are they actually looking for new suppliers? That's another key point, is if they've already got so many people knocking on their door, you probably that's what the findings will discover is, oh, well, if you can cut the price by 10% for them, then that would be an advantage because you already have that strong source for the fruit, and you also have this desire to go more open source with your energy. So,
quick question. Hold on.
Yeah.
So, Eduardo, I thought the impression I was getting from you before was that you already had, like, if you could produce it, you have markets already. But do you need more information on this, Eduardo, just to clarify?
I have two possible markets, that's correct, but more information in current prices of actual buyers would give me more advantage, since these they're basically business-to-business platforms that don't have specific final price. So for getting the profit gap of price versus cost, I think this would be helpful.
Okay.
About different clients, I won't say that spending much time to get new clients. It's my number one priority now.
Because you mentioned ingredients online, which is more B2B.
Yes.
But that brings up a good point. This scope, in my mind, would be that not just you just having ingredients online, but I would actually give you possibly where ingredients online is, who those companies they're working with as well. So you actually know who these actual buyer companies are, whether they're small or medium or large.
Yes, and understanding the real price that they're buying the product from. So I'm open to do it on business-to-business platforms, but for this scope and understanding the real price I could get, that would be the interesting part.
Yeah. And so what are your thoughts, Marcin? Is it Marcin, or how do you pronounce your name? Marcin. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's whatever Eduardo needs.
Okay. Yeah, I think also it gives you a clear path as well. My scope would be that I'm going to actually find out, how much are these companies charging? And there's a lot of some unknowns. And so for me, coming in it from more of like kind of an innocent, more like ambassador way, I can maybe find those prices out versus them being kind of hidden and locked into a B2B source.
So is this kind of info if you're a consultant in the field of freeze drying, so you don't run a lot into like actually marketing issues like Eduardo's asking for, or that's a common problem that people wanna resolve. So you have a lot of, a lot of experience with it.
Marketing issues, what in context to?
Product freeze dried powders or whatever the people in the freeze dryer industry are producing, like in bulk worldwide.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, a lot of the volume is coming from overseas,
Mm-hmm.
and from specifically from China and Thailand,
Mm.
and so I think when you look at that, I think more and more companies want other options from other parts of the world. Um, Having much more certifications to know something is more organic. The pesticide control, all those different types of things is very powerful. Those are all things that I'll find out as well in terms of opportunities as well, because if they don't really care about if if the market is saying we don't really care, we just care about price, we don't really care about the specificities, then you're going to have to compete with those overseas prices. If it's more like they are open to other suppliers that can offer something different, then that's what I'll provide you as far as notes on that.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, that kind of falls into this specific area. I'll provide a finding summary on, what is in strongest command, what do they care about, what's the ratio of low to mid tier and premium type of supplier and buyers of the freeze dried powders, as well as just freeze dried, let's say, fruits, because maybe it's just the actual fruit size versus powderizing it, that type of thing. So I'll provide that scope as well. Yeah, and then for us, what my deliverables for you would be that after I provide all of this information and a report, we dive into actually like a lengthy decision review, and we'd kind of review the findings. And then you would determine whether you'd like me to dig a little bit deeper. If that's not what you're looking for, if you're like, it's not quite at the level that I want, how can we dig a little bit deeper, David? Or if it's sufficient, then we move on to what you were asking for, Eduardo, which is maybe the secondary scope of this, which would be, can you bring up that again, what you were wanting to know?
Product development.
Yeah, product.
As of now, I understand having the first information, the market information, what kind of product they ask, buy, that would be the main guide to understand which product to develop. So if after each powder, I would say phase 2 would be getting some advice from you on how to make this powder, the techniques that you use currently.
Yep. Okay. So this would be the first scope for me. I expect this to take 2 to 3 weeks of my time. It depends on like buyer responsiveness, how many people I can actually get on the phone, on Zoom calls, collecting all this information. But if I know you wanted to kind of speed this up, Eduardo, so for me, in looking at my schedule, I can start. My schedule gets a little bit more heavy towards the end of February, so I can kind of fit this in within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and kind of have a deliverable for you probably by first or the second week of February. Beyond that, it'd probably be sometime in March that I would be able to deliver this to you. So, in summary, what you would be delivered from my standpoint is a market study that gives you buyer landscape, an overview of what this all looks like for you. Number 2, a summary of all my conversations and kind of key findings. That finding can be in a PowerPoint deck, or I can actually provide a full report for you. And then we have a final meeting to decide whether you're going to move forward with product development and actually knowing exactly the production costs, and we going through that process, or if you need me to dig a little bit deeper if we're not quite getting there.
Okay. Martin, do you have any advice or question about information that you might need? I know that you're talking more on the energy side, but still, I would love to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not. I don't have too much comment. I mean, so just to understand it clearly, so basically, market research. Who wants it, and how much are they paying, and what do they want? I mean, that's basically the questions you're asking, right?
Yes, that's it from someone who's in the industry, has access to these people to get the full transparent information.
Yeah, yeah. Access to the industry. And now, how much of this knowledge is out there that's open source or available already? I mean, is this where you basically have to go to all the different buyers and so forth? I mean, is this stuff online that you can actually research it yourself as well, or what's the level of transparency in the industry at this point?
That's a great point as well. So for my own research, I mean, I do this as well. Like I want to be able to meet different buyers and connectors. You know, I have this summit that I want different suppliers to come to.
Mm-hmm.
There is actually quite a bit of, you know, you can go into ChatGPT and Gronk and Google Gemini and you can ask them commercial freeze drying companies. The thing that, AI is not as good at is identifying like if that data is actually current and true, and
Yeah.
this particular industry is very niche, so the data inflow to these language models is not as solid as something that's been around for 10 to 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now it's actually, this study would be a lot more proprietary to you guys, um, if that's and that's what I think would be valuable for me to do this for you, because it would actually kind of give you the inside look at this based on my time and effort to go and find that.
Yeah, and Eduardo, I mean, proprietary to us, meaning open source to the world, or does that still apply here? Or do we have any different rules here, Eduardo?
About this
Yeah, the
research,
work product, we're going to publish all of that, right? That's what we were planning to do, or how are you looking at that the issue of the IP generated?
we're talking about the development of the machinery specifically, or the
No,
information.
no, market research IP.
Is there a problem with that, David?
Well, problem in what? I mean,
Okay, I think the question here is are there any issues if we're actually, we're hiring you, and we would, on our side, we would like to make the data open to anybody because we actually, that's part of our working philosophy. Do you have any objections to us actually opening
no.
up this information? No, we're paying you to open source this information for us, and we give it to the world, right? That's the way it works.
Yeah, if that is something, I think that's what we can establish within our working agreement. I mean, for me, I would love to have, if I'm going to put this data, I mean, I think all of my audience and people, this is great information for them to know. But at the same time, that's why I asked that question. Like, I mean, you're paying me to do this for your own business benefit as well. But if your philosophy is, well, I mean, I'm paying for this, but it's for the betterment of the whole industry, and this is what our philosophy is, then yeah, we'll publish the report when you want to, and you'll have first review of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's something I want to do. But first, I want to tell you, David, since this is something of your work as well, if it doesn't have a problem with you, for me, it's okay to do it open source. And what I mean by open source is going to be this market research. Then we want to talk about the development of the product, and that's it. What we intend to do with our work, me as an entrepreneur, I want to find a machinery that could really get into the market in order to process all my food and turn it into a product I can sell. And that I want to be able to do it myself. But by publishing open source, the market research and the product development, what I aim is to share with other people that how they could understand the market, and with the product development, how could they develop a solution for themselves. That's the desire I have of doing this. and I want to be clear why I'm doing this. It's for making more business on what I do, but also on sharing with other people.
Sure. That I think that's a great philosophy. I love that. The market study, this type of market study, is very much in alignment with what I do with my channel and my all my efforts for the industry. I've been more wanting to do a scope of like the actual business, the up and coming entrepreneurs and startup market study. That's what I've been wanting to do. This kind of falls in line with that as well because there's just not that much data on all this. I mean, there's people buying this stuff, but it's at the same time nobody really knows, you know, what the quality is, what the volume is, price points, opportunities. So, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, question. So now let's maybe talk about in terms of pricing for this. 2 to 3 weeks is a very fast timeline. This would require quite a bit of time for me. I didn't, I don't quite know what your budget was looking like to allocate to a study like this. If you had already contacted other people to do this for you, or if you have.
No, I haven't. So this is the first contact I got for some research, and I'm open to listen to you.
Okay. So I didn't put a price down here because it was really I wanted to ask you first of all about how many actual companies you wanted me to contact, because that really will determine how much work I put into this. Me actually going and finding one person and then dedicating, let's say, a 30 to hour long call to find out all this information from them. I mean, the more data, the more summary we can get and collection of data and findings. So my pricing, I was going to base that off of how many companies you wanted me to do in groups of 10. So if you wanted me to reach out to 10 companies, then we'd have a data set of 10. If you wanted me to expand to this 20, 30 mark, which I think that would provide a good data set for us, then we can move forward with that. If you want me to expand even further, as I start contacting these companies, if there's more people for me to contact, I can let you know that. But that's how I wasn't going to put a price point out here until I knew how many companies you'd really feel comfortable would give you that go or no go type of decision. What's your response, or what do you think of that?
First question is, how many are there in total? Do you have a feeling for that?
Well, for me right now on my Rolodex for the companies that I know in terms of co-packers and suppliers of this, I probably have 12 to 15 companies that I immediately start contacting that I know of. And then probably that if I was looking at 30, that second half of that would take a lot more effort for me to understand, do a little bit more digging and trying to extract that from companies that maybe I don't know. And this is just the US alone.
Okay, that's US alone. But are there 30 you think about total, or is it hundreds of them? I mean, what's the general figure here?
Well, I can find that. I mean, I don't really know how many companies there are out there.
Uh-huh.
What I've been told is one of the co-packers that freeze dries proteins, so chicken, beef, those types of things for pet foods and for meals. They've told me that there's around 300 large buyers in the US buying proteins. And so that gives me probably my thought process goes into there's for people that company can't really handle 300 companies. So if we said they can handle 10% of those, I just figured there's probably about 30 different co-packers handling 300 different companies at the large volume that they're doing in freeze drying. That was kind of my thought process.
Sorry, and any indication on how much of that would be actual fruit, which is, I think, Eduardo. I mean, we're limited to fruit, correct, Eduardo?
For now, yes, first phase, then we can think about different developments.
Okay.
Yeah, fruit is one of the largest categories on top of like pet food in terms of proteins. So it's fruit and pet food that are the largest categories. And so that's what I would find out from some of my other contacts.
Yeah.
What will be the least amount? So on market side, I know there is a market. I just want a few data points to see what's the final product that is being sold and what's the price of the product. So you mentioned you have around 15 different companies that you have direct access. Honestly, I would be fine with just around 3 to 5 companies. I know that's a really small scope, but understanding the products they're buying and the price, that's enough for me because I know there is a market. I have talked with people that sells this product. I just want to take these data points from your contacts, and after that, I really want to focus our time on the development of the product to understand the mechanics of the machinery and how we could innovate with the energy knowledge Marcin has and make this part, which is the important part, making it more accessible because the market we know is there. If we innovate with energy, we know the cost of the product is going to be at least 80% cheaper since energy is about 80% of the product development. So what about on the market side? You just let me know about 2, max 3 companies about the price, and we focus really our time on the development of the machinery and product development. That's what I meant, both parts.
Yeah. So let's change the scope to 3 to 5 qualified buying companies. I think that'd be fair, and then get that information.
Yes, and for me, if it takes 1 week, I know you manage your time, but you mentioned now 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Or just 1 week of quick information, but from someone you know, that would be enough for saying yes to the development of the product. Anyway, I need it. I'm having food waste on my operation, so it's a yes. It's just a little confirmation from the market part that would be enough for saying yes on market and going into development. Would it make sense for you in a week have this?
Yes, I could do this in a week, just given actually having scheduled conversations. Like I don't, people are on vacation, people have different meetings, but I will do my best to try to get that all concise into 1 week, and then have that created within, I would say, 1 to 2 weeks for me to have the conversations, and then a week to deliver the findings.
Right, Eduardo, but don't you want to ask specifically about citrus at this point, or no?
Yes, that would be a plus. But as David mentioned earlier in the call, they are buying through price. So if I know where the buyers right now, and I can develop a better price of product, that would be enough for me to contact direct.
Wait, you're saying to switch to a different product than citrus because you can beat it? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I meant is I do know which companies are buying citrus oils, citrus powders, having the developed product at the much low cost. That's the access point for getting into these clients. If David is going to access 3 to 5 companies and one of those are of citrus, that would be of huge help.
Okay. So nothing really changes here except for the amount of companies I'm going to contact. But really what we're trying to identify is, one, those companies that are actually either producing finding out from my contacts is finding out, like, for example, I think I mentioned to you, Eduardo, this company Boreas Freeze Dry in Missouri. my contact there, I would have a conversation with Blaine, and what I'm going to do for you is ask him, hey, how much fruit are you actually producing in your facility for one of your clients? Like, how much does that actually cost you to do? Like, what are you charging them? If you can give me a range of how much that costs, and then also where could I at if I can get the information from him is where can I find how much they're selling that for or what they're marking it up to, and those are all the different findings that we'll find out from the fruit side. At the same time, if I can't, I'll find it out from that particular source, but I'll also contact companies that are actually freeze drying large volumes of fruit as well, potentially in the nutraceutical side or just freeze dried fruit powder, and asking them what they're charging for large bulk volumes and what that pricing looks like in volume.
Okay. We have clarity on the amount of market research. I would say just understanding what it's going to take in amount of US dollars and time from your part, and then understanding the phase two. How can we make this call and make it really productive in order for us to develop the right freeze dryer and the right product development of citrus into powder or oil or whatever we find on the market research that has more possibility.
Yeah, great. Okay. So let me let me work some numbers and just like my timing for the next 3 weeks based on the 3 to 5 buyer count, and I'll just send that over to you via email and in this document. And then if everything looks good to you, then we'll move forward. If you have any other questions about the rate, then we can have another call, or you can just ask me about that. But as soon as we have a green light, I'll start making these findings and getting you the data.
Sounds good. Just a quick question about, let's say the market, we say yes, and we want to start getting to know more how to make these freeze dryers. How could you help us, in specific with Marcin, to make us understand better the mechanics of what a freeze dryer is, what kind of components we would need to make it work, and that specific information? I know you have a freeze drying business, by yourself, but also what else could you let us know in order to make the development the most precise as possible regarding type of energy used, type of machinery, quality of the machinery, different kind of suppliers? I'm just thinking loud in order to listen to you. What could you really show us in order to make the development the best and most precise possible
Yeah.
way?
Yeah, this is gonna be this is gonna be the fun part, because I have several people right now that I'm gonna set you up on a phone call with immediately if you're ready to go. Because I've got, believe it or not, there are actually like freeze drying consultants that are even like more expertise than me. They come from global sides of things, and one's in the U.S. and one they come from a business called Thrive. Freeze drying. They're the largest global freeze drying company in the world. But Thrive actually ended up laying off a lot of people and a lot of their engineers and things. So they've kind of like this group of guys that actually formed this company. And so I'm going to introduce you to them, get you connected, because the two experts that I know that are engineering minds, to actually give you these actual ideas of how this production can actually, how you can build a freeze dryer to optimize for what you're doing. That's going to be the fun part. I'll introduce you to them.
Yeah, and would that be so? So, would you recommend going straight to them for process and machine design?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
They're equipped to do that. I mean, one of them is So there's two companies that I have working relationships with. One is a single guy. His company is called Suntour, and he's out of Kentucky. Great guy. He's probably in more of the medium to upper large size companies that he works with. The other company that I'm going to introduce you to is called Ferrotech, FAR OHE, Ferrotech. Um, and it's a group of three guys that came from Thrive and very smart, and each one of them have a different type of background. One of them actually was like on site engineering different ways to optimize the freeze dryer for efficiency, getting different cooling, all that type of stuff. Even building out the freeze dryer. Another guy was
Oh,
is
yeah.
more Another guy more specializes in the recipe side of things in the process. Like how fine of cut do you actually cut all your fruits into? Um, how cold should you be freezing the product before freeze drying? All of that storage, everything. And that's probably the phase that I'm like, that's where I'd probably do a handoff for you, but I would still love to be involved, because for me that it's still a huge learning curve for me, and um, I love being a part of that. And I would love, if you're doing this kind of philosophy for open source, I would love to follow you along in your journey, just for my own content. It would be great to do that for my YouTube channel, to kind of say like, hey, this is somebody who's figuring all this out from the bottom, and going through that.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
if you want some exposure and you kind of want to be my dirty jobs kind of like following client, where I'm like, if you remember that show where it's like reality show where you're kind of following around somebody in the business, that's what I would love to do.
Okay. Yeah. So, so these machine design consultants, I mean, do you know like roughly like what we're talking about for like their consulting time per hour? I mean, would it be like a session where we can sit down with them and say, okay, here's how this process works, and just start nailing this stuff out? Like, would that be how it works? Because that's what we prefer. If we're gonna actually design and build them, we want them to transfer that knowledge to us. It wouldn't be like, oh, we just here design something for us. No, we'd like to get the source, actual, basically enable us to do the calculations and all of that, and
Oh yeah.
generate the design.
Oh yeah. I think the Ferrotech individuals would. th- I don't really know what they charge for consulting, but I'm about to release a video of my interview with them, and kind of show the whole world kind of what they're all about, because they are wanting to get in touch with companies just like yourself and say, hey, we can help you with providing expertise on how to go about building and sourcing and building out your own custom freeze dryer. We can also help you optimize existing equipment. We can also help you with the footprint of what actual equipment outside of the freeze dryer will you need to have this whole process done the way you need it to.
Okay. Can you define what you mean by medium to large operations? What's a medium or large operation in terms of, like, you're talking about output of kilograms per year or whatever, or tons of product per
Yeah,
year?
in my frame of mind, it's more based on like the actual output, the throughput of like how much freeze dried product from gross to net you are actually producing.
Okay.
So volume wise, probably like a medium amount of processed food gross weight. If someone's doing more than, I would say, 20,000 pounds a month of actual like gross weight product,
Wet or dry? Wet. You're saying
wet product,
Okay.
wet product, it's probably a medium-sized commercial industrial company in the freeze drying space.
Okay.
If they're doing anything beyond that, more than 100,000 pounds, that's a large freeze drying company. 100,000 pounds wet product. To give you an idea of that, I talked to a freeze drying company, Dry M Foods. This is a company based out of India. They went from about 400 pounds a day freeze drying to 1,000 pounds a day freeze drying. So, they're doing, 300,000 pounds per month in freeze drying their Indian food cuisines, uh, and chutneys and all that type of stuff.
Oh, you said they went up to 10,000 per day, or
Uh,
300,000 per
a
month.
thousand, a 1,000 pounds per day.
Oh, 1,000, so 30,000 pounds per month.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Ferrotech guys that I talked to, they're like, well, we know one company in Thailand that's doing 100,000 pounds, every couple of days. So people are moving a lot of volume. Now that's gross weight, that's wet weight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you're removing close to 85-90% of water weight. So to get the result of that net weight, you're having to actually put through a lot of pounds of product.
Okay. Do you know if anyone's doing this solar?
I know that people are looking at doing solar to reduce the energy costs for sure, but I haven't seen any facility that actually has solar panels.
Right. Yep. Yep. Okay. That sounds good.
If I would need to do at least 20,000 kilos per day,
No, not
what
no.
what would I need?
No.
20,000 kilos per day. What kind of machinery would I need? You were mentioning about the small companies or medium companies.
20,000 kilos
Right.
per day.
That's a full container of fresh fruit, of oranges or grapefruit
Per day.
per day. I just want to understand what would it take, since what I heard of sizes of the industry,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem that big. If we're talking about industrial food waste, I would think about at least 20,000 kilos per day of fresh processing.
Yes.
That's very big.
That's a very large operation. For example, if you look at like a cut-in freeze dryer, like these are OEM made freeze dryers, right? They're not custom made, but like a cut-in freeze dryer. Here, I'll share my screen.
Cut
here.
in meaning like into a wall inside a building.
No, this is it's
cut-in.
pronounced cut-in freeze dry.
Cut in,
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So this equipment, I think these. Let's see how large these are.
Mm-hmm.
Like they custom build it. Yeah, these here, this can do 1,500 kilograms of ice sublimated in a 24-hour period.
Eduardo, what compared to those, you need a device that's about 10 times bigger.
Yes.
Or you need 10 of these.
Mm-hmm. Or
Yes.
more like
Correct.
in other words.
Well,
Yeah.
Yes. So, but there are companies that already have this existing equipment that can toll freeze dry, for you. So one of the things that myself and these other like Ferrotech and Suntour would advise you is, hey, until you have the capital to invest in 10 of these to do it your own, you could explore a partnership to build up that demand for your citrus powders and figure out, how long does your citrus take to process, and then you start building it out yourself to increase that profit margin.
yes, could be a good step for sure.
And then this is like the peak
Yep.
power requirement.
It's almost an acre of PV.
Is that a lot?
Yeah, it's quite a bit. It's an acre area of PV, almost half an acre of PV.
What's PV? I don't know
Sorry, photovoltaics. of solar panels.
A whole acre. Wow.
Half an acre.
Half an acre for to operate one of these.
Yep. That's the kind of scale we're talking about.
How much do you have that footprint in on your farm, Eduardo, to put that in?
Yes, he's got plenty.
Um, these are all companies that you could find online, but if you'd like me to this isn't something I've spent a huge amount of time on, but I could just give you a list of all these companies too that you could look at.
Yeah.
Okay, if it makes sense for the development to get some reference, of course.
Here's another.
That
Here's
would
a-
definitely study the industry standards. That's one of the first steps. Yes.
Here's another company. This is TechSource Systems out of Utah.
Let me ask you quick: is there a lot of IP in this game, or a lot of this stuff is just no special IP for the machines themselves? Do they patent a lot of stuff?
Oh yeah, there's patents
Okay.
for sure. For example, cut-in. An advantage of let me go back. An advantage of this particular company
Mm-hmm.
is one, they're now doing like CO2 for their energy instead of electrical for some of their freeze dryers. So,
I'm sorry. What does that mean? CO2? What do you mean CO2?
well, our
You mean
They're
carbon credits?
yes, or like they're
Carbon
doing.
credits. Okay.
They are much more. Their whole philosophy on their company is to reduce the energy like efficiency in their freeze dryer systems.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they operate on is all of their racks are actual like liquid heating shelving units instead of radiant heat. And so the the product is actually freeze dried and dried at those temperatures through the heating mechanism in the whole tray, like it's just a liquid heating mechanism. Versus the other companies use radiant and thermal heat. For example, so like TechSource Systems
Mm-hmm.
has like a smaller machine, right? But they have these larger machines. They even have a 20 rack machine that like this can do 3,500 pounds of product, which I think what's 3,500 in kilos?
About 1,700 or so, or
Yeah.
1,500.
1,500 kilos.
Yeah. We just need 10 of those.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here's some information on that.
Yeah.
Some product details, specifications.
Is that, for example, a patented item? The concept of radiant, of liquid filled heating tubes?
I can't answer that. I actually don't really know too much about what patents
Yeah.
are there.
Yeah.
I know that these companies, when I have interviewed them and gone and visited them for my content, what a lot of these companies talk about is, for example, cut-in. They have patents on their cooling shelving units, and they've been around since the 60s doing freeze drying.
Yeah.
Somebody like TechSource Systems has more of a patent on their. They have removable shelving units. So these shelving units, like you see right here, they're like you can actually remove them and wash them directly. They don't stay stagnant. So if you had large type of products that stack really high in density and like in height, then you can remove the shelving units to whatever type of distance you want, and it's easy to clean inside here.
Yeah.
There's another company called Parker Freeze Dry. This is a U.S. based company. They have let's look at the Parker 16. So they can do 44,000 pounds of product in this thing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Do a lot of people in your network that come to your conference, are a lot of those people producers, or are they machine guys too? You got
Both.
You have a lot of the machine guys as well, or
Yeah,
primarily
you should.
producers?
Yeah, I would love to have you guys come up because
one, I have all these manufacturers actually come to my supplier event where you actually they obviously aren't going to bring these large machines there at the hotel
Yeah.
or the expo, but all of their reps will be there to you'll actually talk to them. They can speak to all this equipment, and I have all these major OEM manufacturers coming to the conference. I had them last year, and more will be coming.
Would you say it's like 10% manufacturers and like 90% producers of the actual product?
Yes.
Something like that, yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Okay, just to understand as well, the other Faro tech, they could help us understand the basic concepts of each process and guide us on how to build our own components.
Yep. This is the company Ferrotech here. Yeah, so this is the company I can introduce you to. I mean, you can contact them if you'd like to, but I can do a introduction for you to the guys there.
Yes, I'm interested in both in finding the actual suppliers, but at the end, since I'm looking for big scale and I'm looking to integrate the solar technologies to make it a low cost production, I see the easiest path to go and scale is to build our own. So knowing the engineers or the people that knows the mechanics would be much more of help into this process than meeting
Yes.
the actual suppliers, because the capital expenditure on each machinery, for me, it makes it cost prohibitive to do a scale project. And my goal is to do it on scale.
Yes. This would be, in my opinion, now I've only known these individuals for about 6 months, but again, it's a very tight knit industry. But out of everybody that I've talked to and the connections that I have and the people that are available and their skill set, Ferrotex seems to be the group of individuals that can answer those questions and be a partner like that for you. And they're in the business of not selling equipment. They're in the business of helping you solve particular problems, which is if you're someone who already has systems and they're just not running efficiently, they go in there and help figure out how to make that happen and actually do the work. Or like for what you're saying, hey, I really need to know how should I build this freeze dryer if I want to build it myself. I've got the team. What are the things that I need to make sure I have and I'm sourcing correctly and I'm not skipping over anything so that I can make the most efficient freeze drying facility for myself and make this very, open source. These guys will be able to answer that for you.
Yeah.
Yes, open source, and my main goal, low cost and accessible. That's what I'm looking for scale.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, it's not just open sourcing everything, is basically finding ways to make hardware that is accessible and functional, and it's not cost prohibitive. It's accessible. That's the goal of this project. For myself, and of course in the open source part, the magic in here is that you get more people that collaborate in very fast ways.
Okay.
That's big.
Well, I will do so. Let me just. I'll be pretty quick. I'll send it over to you with what time it might take me and what I want in return monetarily, and then I'll give you a time frame of like, hey, this is I can as soon as I start, this is what I would deliver to you in this time frame, and then in the meantime. I'll definitely just get you in touch. I'll try to coordinate a call with the Ferrotech team and get you introduced.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and for me, I think they're just going to be a great resource as well. They may know contacts that I may not know globally, but again, my scope is to do this for the U.S. They likely will have more context of what the demand is globally in the citrus and powder side.
Okay, but US is good. I'm 5
Yes.
hour away drive from US. The market I'm aiming for is US, not
Okay,
all.
great.
We're good.
Okay,
Excellent. Thank you.
Marcia, thanks. Great to meet you.
All right.
And Eduardo, thanks for getting on this call. And yeah, I'll send that over. And as soon as you respond, we'll move forward.
Thank you,
Excellent.
David. Thank you,
Thanks,
Marcin.
David.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye bye.
Eduardo, so yeah, man, good stuff. Still recording. So we're talking tomorrow at 8 p.m., yeah?
Tomorrow, Thursday, of course. Yes.
Yep.
Um,
So we'll follow up on this. I got some guests coming over right now, but that was pretty good. I think so. I mean, my main question is what regarding your needs, because I mean, you can research a lot of this. Like, you can just start calling the companies. Do you want to do that, or do you want this guy to do this for you? Now, I think what you're talking about is buying back your time. You're saying, okay, I'm going to spend money to get information, and that's valuable because I'm actually that's worth my time. So that sounds like that's what you're doing.
for now, yes. I just gotta think about it how
Yeah.
much to charge, and
Yeah.
after that,
Yeah,
if it makes
exactly. Let's talk about that tomorrow. Let's
Yeah.
talk about what value, just the clarity on what value we're getting out of this. In other words, what's the cost for the return on that cost compared to your time, basically. I mean, basically, you're comparing your time versus his time, and what's the math look like? What's the economics look like for either case?
time I can spend it is just the precision of the answer. Chats are available, but he also mentioned that the precision sometimes of that specific data, and we're talking price and product. That's what I love to
Yeah,
buy.
yeah. I'm saying chat plus actual you get on a phone. Basically, do what he's doing. You know. So there's
Correct.
yeah, and I mean, there's different ways to do this, but yeah, let's talk about that tomorrow.
Will do for sure. Thank you,
Okay.
Marcin.
All right. Thanks, Eduardo. Great job. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Yes. Thank you.